Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Talk Podcasting. This is all about sponsorships this episode. So if you're looking to talk, to listen and get some ideas on sponsorships and how to go about getting it, well, I'm not that guy, but I hopefully we can get some advice here. The idea of a table discussion about it. So let me get started. Anthony, why don't you say where you're from and your podcast.
Yeah, my name is Anthony Hayes. I'm from MeMyselfAndIRadio.com, and I'm an author, a podcaster, and a blogger.
And Doc, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I've got a couple of shows. I'm Doc Kennedy, and I have a Dream Warriors podcast and also the soon-to-be-released Filmmakers Focus podcast.
And Esther?
I have a show called Born to Influence, the marketing show, and we interview very successful entrepreneurs about their marketing strategies, New York Times bestselling authors. And in my client work, what I do is I work with people who have built a successful business, and I help them get placements online in online media, so in podcasts and telesummit interviews, presentations for paid masterminds, and then put JV deals together for them.
And what did you say? Did you mention the name of your podcast as well?
Yeah, Born to Influence.
Sorry about that. And I am, of course, Joe Pardo. I run the Dreamers podcast, Podcast Mid-Atlantic, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. If you go to joepardo.net, you can check all that out. And my first book and audiobook just came out on Monday, and it went to #1 on Amazon. Personal transformation. So woo, that's awesome. Now to climb the next mountain of getting paid #1. It's a much tougher process, but it's all right. I'm up for the challenge. So let's see. I guess we should start by talking about. Well, it's tough because none of you guys are really into the whole sponsorship thing. Doc, are you looking for sponsorships for your new show?
I'm not. I haven't reached out to anybody, but it's on the radar for when. So I'm doing seasons. I'm looking at season 2, having season 2 sponsored.
That's called real life. What kind of sponsors have you already been trying to contact anybody about it?
I haven't tried to contact anybody. I'm just gonna roll through season 1, and then after season 1, I'll have something to work with, and I'll reach out that way. But I've been working with Neil Galarte of All Things Post podcast.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, great guy, and he's got sponsorship for his show. It's kind of along the same lines where there's a lot of people in the film industry, indie film industry, that want to get their name out there, and they're willing to pay. And I'm not looking to break the bank or anything. I just want to make enough to justify the show. And so that's where I'm at.
Now, he's actually a very special case because he made an awful lot of money for being a brand new startup show.
Yeah, he did. Hey, he still is. Yeah. That's what's intriguing to me about that. So with Dream Warriors, I didn't have anything going as far as sponsorship, and it wasn't going to happen. And I was cool with that after I figured it out. And so even with Filmmakers Focus, I'm not like, if I don't get sponsorship, it's not going to kill me. I really don't care. In fact, I'll sponsor my own show, and that's part of my plan for season 1 is that I'm going to sponsor my own show with my video production company and allow that to be advertised that way.
Cool.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I've sponsored my own show with my own company, the Monthly Card Club. So it definitely makes sense to do that, and I think it makes more sense to do that than to try to be chasing the dollar bills from sponsorship, especially just getting started, and with some of the people out there that are bringing in tens of thousands of downloads per episode, and you're just getting started with maybe like 100 downloads per episode. It doesn't look as amazing to people who are looking to spend a bunch of money.
Well, I think also if I have something out there that the show is being sponsored by, and it doesn't matter who it's being sponsored by, but it is being sponsored, and that can be intriguing to people out there as well.
Yep, it's like a relationship. If you're, if you're in a relationship, everybody wants to be with you. If you're not, then you're not very desirable.
Yeah.
It's
Anthony,
funny the way that works.
Anthony, have you made any strides there in your endeavor?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to go down to that energy company yet. I've just been so busy with a bunch of stuff this month. So maybe by the end of the month, if not the beginning of next month, I'm gonna see if I can get some more information about that and see if it's worth pursuing.
Oh, okay. No, Esther, do you have any experience with pulling because you were going every day of the week, weren't you, at one point with your show?
Yeah, the first episode or the first season that we started was a daily show, Monday to Saturday, and the initial plan was to get sponsors. So we were going through, building the audience and all that stuff, and I pitched a few people. I was talking with 99 Designs, but then I realized that I really didn't want to do that because it feels like there's too many breaks. At that time, we had a 30-minute show, so you would have to have at least 2 sponsors and a lot of downloads for this to make any sense at all. So for me, what made more sense eventually is to go down to 1 show a week and then focus on my client work, which is really where I make my money. But at the same time, it's also having the show justifies for me getting those clients because I do media placements and I interview my own clients on my show as well.
Yeah, I think doing the personal promotion, it can be a great way for get business, and make more money than you would just pushing somebody else's product constantly.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Without
and
chasing
it feels
them.
better too,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Crap, I had something for this. What was I gonna ask? So when it comes to to getting the sponsorship stock, would there have been a specific type of company you would have tried to target?
Well, because it's a marketing show, we were looking at all the usual suspects, the hosting companies, the email companies, 99 Design, business-related stuff. But again, I didn't go too deeply into it because I just realized soon enough that it wasn't something that I really wanted to do because there was better ways of monetizing for me.
Right. Yeah. No. I agree. Especially if you gotta chase them affiliate links. You're doing all the work.
I wouldn't have done affiliate links because then you really have to have a huge platform for that to make any sense at all.
And if not, even if you don't, you're doing all the work, you're putting out the name for them. So even if you only have, a few hundred people that are listening, they're hearing the message, but if they're not converting for you, then they're just hearing the message. You're doing the work for that company and getting nothing in return.
Yeah. So I decided not to do that.
How about you, Doc? Is there any companies you would have targeted?
Well, I will target some different companies, but I'm only going to target those that I'm going to use their products or that I do use their products and that I like their products. So either that, I can go that route, or I can also promote other production companies. So there's some options out there, and I'm going to try them all.
How about with you, Anthony? I know we were talking about doing was it a local energy drink company?
Yeah. That was the first initial thing that came to mind, and it's 35 minutes south of where I'm at, where they're located. So may it be in form of product or of theirs as a payment or whatever. I would be open to anything really, just to get something going. You know what I mean? Like a case of energy drinks or 2 every month. Something to keep you going while you're podcasting.
Yeah,
something like that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, just getting anything to open up that channel of talk and opening the channel of getting the contacts and then going from there. If as the show grows, you can always change up, how that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't just have to be affiliate links. It doesn't just have to be the super big companies that are willing to pitch hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But like we've talked before about going after local companies that might be interested in spending $100 on like 10 episodes, but they have like an online presence and they're looking to increase that online presence. Well, you could be part of that. At the same time, $100 for a month, like a month's worth of stuff, isn't really a huge deal. It doesn't have to be a ton of money, but it gives you a starting point. And again, if somebody wants you, then everybody wants you. That's that's the way I see it. But
hook some small fish to get some big ones.
I'm sorry. Anthony, go first.
Oh no, I was just saying you gotta hook some small fish to get to the big ones.
Yeah. And it's tough, right? Because and as far as what to charge, the only thing that I know of is John Lee Dumas's his sponsorship sheet where he's like, what was it, like $18 or something for a pre-roll, or I don't know where he arrived to that figure, but you got to keep in mind, especially if you're new to podcasting and looking to get that sponsorship, that it only works, again, as Esther mentioned, if you have that level of people listening that are going to make it happen. It's definitely tough to land that. So if you've reduced that cost and you open up the more amount of value that you can give to them, whether it's also you leveraging your newsletter, your email list, your website, like one of the things that Neil Galarte did, Doc, and I'm sure you recall, is didn't he put the banners like right at the top of his like Facebook group or something, or on top of his Facebook page?
Yeah, he does a lot of that.
So like he leveraged all kinds of stuff that where most people would be trying to do the branding thing. He was looking at it from oh man, that's a perfect spot to put a sponsor.
Sure.
And cash in, because a lot of people are looking at that. They're they might not necessarily be listening to the show, but they stumbled upon the page.
So in our line of work, it's really hard to maintain and Esther would know about this. It's really hard to maintain a steady pace, especially with podcasting. So Neil, I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he had to offer that because if he didn't, his shows are inconsistent because of the amount of work that he's bringing in. Either he's going to have he's a ton of work, or there might be some room to record. So there's weeks where there isn't a show, and for the sponsor, they need to have something out there. So then he's able to offer that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't listened to his show, but I know when I sat with him, his show sounded really interesting because they break it down like the whole post process of doing a movie.
Oh, it's great. It's great for a guy like me. But oh shoot, now I just pulled a Joe.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Take your time, because I don't have anything to say to that. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's gone.
Oh, it's just out. But yeah, it's interesting. What the.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say So I'm recording all my episodes for season 1 ahead of time, and the reason for that is because of the same type of schedule that Neil has, where I can't trust that I'm going to be available to record and edit an episode every week. But if I'm doing 10 to 12, I can have those all pre-recorded, and I'll launch them at a certain time without putting the pressure on myself. And then I'll be able to look at doing that every 6 months or so. and just keep stockpiling. It also gives me time to figure out what people are looking for, try to get the right people on the show, the right type of subjects that they're looking for, but then also include sponsorship and what any particular sponsor might have to offer. I want to make sure that it's something that the average listener of Filmmakers Focus could actually use and would want to use, and it's something that I would use. I'm more concerned about that than I am the cash, because anything that I get is going to be a plus. So I really don't care, if it's $5 to the right person from the right product or the right service. I'd rather have that than $100 from something that I don't believe in.
You want to bring more value to your show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could see that. I was gonna say, Esther and I were talking before the show about, crap, what was it? What were we talking about before the show?
We were talking about getting guests and also where your podcast fits into your overall business. We talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's where I was going, because it was about how the sponsors could sometimes dictate who your guests are going to be.
Oh yeah, the creative control. Yep.
So you want to elaborate on some of that?
Well, it's just because we were talking about it, whether or not we wanted to do sponsorships, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want, besides the numbers and really having to have a huge audience in order for this to make any sense, is that sometimes, in some cases, especially with bigger companies, they want to approve the guests. So, you have to actually give up a part of your creative control, because they have to say that, yeah, this person is okay for the specific episode that we are sponsoring. Now, it may be that they're not sponsoring every single episode, so you'll be able to juggle, but still, do you need that headache? I mean, it's up to you if that's something that you want to do, but it's something to consider.
For 20, 30, 40 grand a year, I could use the headache, but not for $100
Yeah.
$100 a month.
Well, it just depends. It just depends on who you are. But just, because I work with so many podcasters, I see sometimes these things behind the scenes, and that was a real eye-opener for me. Okay, that's another reason why I don't want sponsors.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be difficult to juggle. Again, if you're not making that kind of money, is it really worth the extra effort and time you're going to have to put in to make that happen and make that work for you? And
but
then
like if you have like a daily show, let's say we were talking about John a minute ago, right? John Dumas, he has a daily show, so he has those big numbers. Because of that, also, of course, he attracted partly because of that, a big audience. But also, like, let's just say if it's 99 Designs who sponsors him, they were not the one that this was an issue with. But I'm just saying as an example, if they only do, let's say, the Wednesday shows, then you have Monday to Tuesday, and then Thursday through Sunday to pick that guest for other sponsors who would be okay with that person. And it may not be even that they'll necessarily veto it, it's just extra administration, extra time.
Yeah, it sounds like you need a whole group of people just to mitigate that, which costs money. So you need to be making some money in order to make that worth your time and effort.
Yeah. And with advertisers, that's the other thing, that it kind of sounds like, well, I'm gonna be making $40,000 or whatever a month if you have a big show, but it's never gonna be as profitable as if you're selling your own product or your own services.
That's very true. But that's why you got to have multiple streams. I mean, John does that very well.
Yeah.
To make the numbers that he does, it's not just this. I mean, sponsorships is such a tiny portion at this point. In fact, it's so tiny. In fact, wouldn't be surprised if he just cut sponsors out soon. Because it's such a.
I don't know what he's gonna do with that, but we'll see.
I mean, hey, who wants to turn away money? But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like at this point, percentage-wise, it's such a small. I mean, was it the other month? It was like $400,000 in 1 month. Like, what's 20 grand at that point?
Yeah.
Especially if you're jumping through hoops, like you're saying, to make that money, to make that happen.
Well, I mean, you can certainly, if you have the systems for it and the assistance, it's not that big of a deal. But I just don't like the idea of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've in the last couple months have felt the same way. I'd rather sponsor myself than try to chase a couple people, try to chase all these sponsors. And there's just not enough time in the day to make all that happen. But yeah, so we're pretty down on sponsors in this episode of Talking Sponsors, and that's okay, I guess, because that's just how it goes. I mean, if we, I
think you have to know the why of what you're doing too, and you guys know your why. So why are you even doing your show in the first place? With Dream Warriors, I did want sponsorship, and I had these grand plans for making that happen, and it didn't happen, and I moved on from that. I'm fine. And so now I know what to expect with podcasting, and I know what the benefits are. And so for me, Filmmakers Focus is about two things. It's about being able to give back to young aspiring filmmakers, and it's for me to be able to connect with people that I might not otherwise have the chance to connect with. That's it. If nothing else happens, I'm totally fine.
I think that's great that you have that focus on with it now, and I guess that only came because you had Dream Warriors that didn't make a ton of money. That
was a great way to just get my feet wet. I did more than get my feet wet, but it was a great learning tool for me.
I'd agree with that. I think it's the expectation, right? If we want to look at it from a different angle, the expectation of, okay, are we going to make a ton? Are we trying to make money at all? Are we trying to make a ton of money? Yeah. So it's a yes or no, and then is it a lot?
I
I
start to get sad when I see podcasters that have good shows and really quality stuff to share, and they quit. And they quit because they weren't getting any income. Well, the why got totally messed up somewhere in there where you were impacting lives in a great way, and just because you weren't bringing in some income, I don't get that. It happens, and I understand, but at the same time, there has to be value on people too, and you're impacting others.
I got the future. I got the future right here. Look, she got her little headphone.
So, I'm sorry, Esther. You were about to say something as well.
Well, I just wanted to know more about Anthony's goals around sponsorships and also what your show is about, because I'm actually not familiar with that.
I don't know if he might not be there.
Yeah, he may be gone right now.
Well, his show is called Me, Myself, and I Radio. .com, and it's all about like self-improvement, self-development, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's very interesting to hear his story and what he chooses to share. And me and him talk a lot. He messages me quite a bit. So I think that he's well on his way. I think that it's definitely a learning process, especially for just getting started. And I think that there he is.
There you go. Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's a work in. I was listening, but I was. It's a work in progress. It's like Joe said. It's I basically draw on like my story with my struggle with depression, and I'm trying to use that as a tool for other people to like inspire and give them hope. Hopefully, and maybe learn some valuable habits in the process. So that's also the theme of the book that I'm working on. So basically, right now I'm just trying to tie all that together, and with guys like Joe looking out for me and learning stuff and networking, I should be able to do that pretty soon.
So cute seeing. It's your baby, right?
Keep taking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just taking it out and trying to put it back in.
Yeah. She's funny. Her birthday is this weekend. She's gonna be 1.
Aw, happy birthday.
So
how does the podcast fit into your overall business?
Me?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually. I do it as a hobby, for the most part. But I mean, eventually, I guess it will once I launch my book and once I get my book out there for sale. It'll probably make more sense because it'll be able to reflect that. So at the moment, it's kind of I'm kind of just getting into it and getting things rolling. So I'm trying to build on that and one day make it something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what do you do then outside of the podcast?
I work at a supermarket. I'm in charge of the frozen food department.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I do. 40 hours a week.
Wow.
and the other 40, I chase this one around.
Yeah.
But it's been nice chatting, guys. I'm gonna jump off early, and nice to meet everybody. And it was good talking to you.
All right.
Thanks for making it out, Anthony.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you too. So yeah, actually, Esther, would you like to elaborate on how your podcast that you do once a week now, going from 6 days a week, fits into your business?
Yeah, so what I wanted to do initially was the sponsorship and all that big stuff in order to be able to have the platform. So what I was thinking at the time, to be able to connect with A players and really high-level people and put together JV deals for them. But then I realized along the way that first of all, it's a lot more work and a lot harder than it seemed. And secondly, I really didn't need that middle step because I was already connecting with them directly by having them on my show. And so the other thing is that my guests were always asking because they would always have something to launch, whether it's a book coming out or a product or a service a couple of months from now. That's why they were on my show. And so they would ask that, hey, do you know any other podcasters who would be maybe interested in having me on? So I would introduce them. And then finally the light bulb went on at, well, this is actually a business. So I built it into a one-of-a-kind kind of PR agency where nobody does this because the people are going for the big labels like CNN, getting your placement in Entrepreneur Magazine and that kind of stuff. But this gives them an opportunity to really be able to be exposed to the right target audience for an extended period of time, for 30 minutes or an hour, and give them good content, and at the same time sell more books, get them on their list, and so on. So it shifted from just a pure marketing show to being more of a PR marketing service.
Mm-hmm. So it's a win-win for you and the client.
Yeah, exactly. And so I work with entrepreneurs who are so-called experts, coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, people who have built a 7 or 8 figure business and they have something that they would like to get out there in the next few months. Wow. So we're helping them promote it online.
How did you make that jump, right? Because you had mentioned to it before that it takes a few email interactions and stuff like that, and a few interactions before you get that kind of a client. But that's phenomenal because I would think that those people they made it already. Why would they want to be interested in?
Yeah, but they always have also. Well, first of all, they have stuff to promote, and so they're looking as an example, do you remember, you guys, when Gary Vaynerchuk was doing his jab, 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 right hook? Mm-hmm. The book a couple of years ago that became a New York Times bestseller. That year, he made a commitment that he would literally do every single interview whoever asked him. Now, I had to negotiate a deal with him, but still, we were able to have him on episode number 2, or I think it was number 2. So before we launched, because I was able to come to him at a time when he was looking for exposure. So, and then over time you build those relationships. And I started doing this, what I do right now, as a formal business last fall, October, November, something like that. So before that I was doing it just because it's in my nature to introduce and connect people, but I wasn't charging for it. And so it's been good. But it took a good 2 years.
Wow.
That.
Wow. Yeah, my show has been great for meeting people and connecting and connecting people to other people from all around the world. And it's just, at this point, I don't view it as a vehicle to make money. I haven't viewed it like that since I got started. I think it's all about just making those connections so that I can make more connections. I don't know. It's a great almost like a business card,
Yeah,
and
you'll be able to do something with it at some point, but you just need to figure out what your offer is.
Mm-hmm. Esther, are you gonna be writing a book about with the compilation of interviews that you've had?
No. I thought about it, but there's so many people doing that kind of stuff, getting the transcripts, and then I could, It's just it doesn't feel like it will be something that I really want to do.
Yeah.
I like talking with people. It's
Yeah.
I'm not a book publisher. I may write my own book at some point, but I don't want to repurpose the interviews into books.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that was more of what I was aiming at was maybe even just your take off of what you learned through those interviews. You know, you could turn that
Maybe.
into
I mean, I've been approached to write chapters in different books, so I may do
Okay.
that and
Yeah.
see how that goes, and then we'll see.
It's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, book writing isn't for everybody, that's for sure. Or reading books in my case. But no, I think that it's a great way to get there because like there's tons of people I wouldn't know either of you right now or Anthony if I hadn't started my show. I'd be doing something completely different. So it's a great way to get to meet people and to interact and to show people, showcase your skills in multiple ways. So
yeah.
I don't feel like I have any podcasting skills, and that's not a downer on me, but it is true. I mean, I don't have the greatest voice, and I don't, I'm cool with that. It is for me, I just love connecting and hearing other people's stories and helping people get those out. That's why I still have Dream Warriors active. Is I did learn the value of those stories. So being able to have Joe back on and talk about his book and have parents of my buddy who was killed in action, just different things like that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do those otherwise.
So what's the lawyer show about?
Dream Warriors. Well, Joe and I basically launched it at the same time. So
yeah, we did. Great minds think alike.
And you guys both have dream in the title.
Yeah, he found me, but but really, Joe was a huge help in helping me get through a few technical hurdles early on, and so I always promote his show big time. But Dream Warriors is just aimed at letting people share their stories so other people could be inspired by them.
What kind of guests are you looking for?
Oh, I've had all kinds. I've had actors, military. I wanted to make it a wide range because I didn't want it to just be one genre of person. Like I've had quite a few comedians on, but that's because I have this interest in comedy. So I'm trying to expand it a little bit. And I'm not really doing Dream Warriors a ton anymore. I do it hit and miss, but yeah.
It's a different show, but you guys are collaborating and switching tips and guests and everything, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. I think Joe would say that. It's,
definitely.
It's along the same lines, but maybe a different audience and Joe and I really enjoy each other, so that's working out great.
It helps. Yeah, it was interesting too, because like when I had first done a Google search, I didn't see anybody at the time, and then it was like 2 months later or a month later after starting that I was like, oh, let me do another Google search, see if there's anybody else out there. I found Doc and I found Kirsty Bartholomew over in England, and she was doing Untrapped Life, and it wasn't quite, it was more of a focus on travel, but it was still in the same vein. As to what Doc and I were doing at the time, so it was fun getting to connect with these people, and it was like it felt like just yesterday. It was just
it practically was.
I know. Well, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it was. And that was when when I had the grand idea. Oh, we're gonna get these sponsorships, and we're gonna make all this money, and it's just gonna be raining dollar bills, literally dollars.
That was still a good thought, but not so much.
Yeah, those were the days. But now it's mutated into such a thing. But yeah, I mean, having the show and being able to utilize it as a like a business card type thing or as an introduction piece, and at the same time still being able to inspire people, right? I mean, helping people. And helping myself, getting to learn from other people's experiences has been phenomenal for me. Especially leaving my family's business, so it's like it was right at the right time. All came together, I mean, Doc, you started Dream Warriors after you left your business, right? Or not business, your career.
I did. Yeah. And it was good for me because I didn't have a ton of work at that time, so it kept my mind nimble. I had something to build, which I always enjoy, and no regrets, not by any means.
And you learned along the way, right? You learned how to edit audio better. You learned how to put a website together, how to, make it look good, and like some marketing decisions and stuff like that. And
Filmmakers Focus is off to a way better start than Dream Warriors ever was.
Yeah, I imagine if I was starting a brand new show totally from scratch, I'd probably be in a better position. How about, would you agree, Esther, for yourself, if you were starting a brand new show?
Yes and no. I mean, it was a little bit of a different story back then because I started with a co-host. So we had a very different idea of what we were going to build. And I mean, of course, it's nice now having the experience and really understanding what it takes. But I also know that I wouldn't want to do everything by myself like we did initially, But now it's like outsourcing.
I build everything myself. I haven't outsourced one bit.
Yeah, that's how we did it initially too, and it's exhausting when you're doing a daily show.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no way I would do
that. Exactly.
Yeah, 5 days a week was a lot for me, but I did it for like 4 months, so there's always that. But you know what it did? It helped pump up my the amount of episode numbers I had under my belt, and I think that's helped a lot.
And the faster you go, the more people you connect with. So the longer time you have, a year from now, if you did 5 days a week rather than once a week, you'll have 5 times as many people that you know now.
That's true, and that was a big driving force for keeping it at 5 days a week, and then not and then only going to 3 days a week was, I'm making all these connections and getting these people to get back to me and having all this fun. But at the same time, since no money is coming in, it's a huge time suck,
Yeah, that's why I keep asking everybody when I talk to podcasters, how does it fit into your overall business model? Because unless they already have a large following, let's say if they have a big email list or whatever, and they launch a podcast, if it's completely from scratch, they better know exactly where it fits in with the rest of everything.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when it gets back to time and all that. So yeah, it's for me, it's I want to keep meeting all the crazy and awesome people in the world, but at the same time, the time, if I was making money, then I could outsource it, and then I'll do 5 days a week if I can afford to outsource it.
Yeah.
Just recording isn't a big deal. If I have somebody that's setting up most of my interviews and doing all that, the editing work and the show notes and all that, yeah, sure, that's awesome. I'll do it 7 days a week. It wouldn't be a big deal at all. But it's always difficult when you're doing every piece. Plus, you're trying to write a book. Plus, you're trying to do. Your
case is special because you have a gazillion things going on.
I know. I need to start paring some of those things down, but I try to run them in cycles. Yeah. So working on these other projects and stuff like that, I want to do it in cycles. So I know what I'm working on. I'm not just bouncing from one thing to another, or else my book still wouldn't be out today. So
yeah, I get it.
But well, let's wrap up here. Doc unfortunately had to get going. So that was Doc Kennedy from filmmakersfocus.com, I think. Makersfocus.com. I think it was filmmakersfocus.com. And Anthony Hayes, who was on the show earlier, was from Me, Myself, and I Radio. And it is filmmakersfocus.com, as well as the dreamwarriors.net. And Esther, if you'd like to plug where you're from.
borntoinfluence.com.
And she has had some phenomenal guests. I still don't understand how she was able to get some of these guests when I have some guests that aren't even all the way up here. They're up here, and they're just not interested.
That's okay. Just tell me if if there is somebody who I'm actually working with if it's a good fit, I'm definitely happy to connect you with them. So
I'll take you up on that. Actually, I have a couple names in my.
The requirement is that they have to be my client, though.
Oh, darn it. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you never know.
All right.
Hey, maybe it's an idea. You can go after some of those people.
Yeah, exactly.
Those potential clients.
All right.
So.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Joe. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
And again, I'm Joe Pardo. Go to Joe right down here. Down here. JoePardo.net and howtodream.co and podcast Mid-Atlantic, and my book, an audiobook, is available on Kindle, and like I said, audiobook and physical copies. Look, it's physical. It's right here in my hand. On Amazon, you can get that howtodream.co/book. It's 99 cents on Kindle, $4 for the audiobook, and it's $24.99 for the physical. So thank you all for joining us. We'll be back we'll be on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So join us for then. It's Let's Talk Blogging Tips, which is, we started to go down the rabbit hole last week with SEO. That's search engine optimization, if you don't know. And there's a lot to talk about there. So I'm looking forward to jumping on that. Everybody have a great night.
Okay.